as well, the state fiscal recovery fund, local fiscal recovery fund, coronavirus capital projects, local assistance and tribal consistency fund, and other programs. So for the state fiscal recovery funds, Massachusetts is getting $5.29 billion. And Wendell is eligible for some of these through earmarks and grants and so on. Some of these funds have already been allocated for Wendell. So we have ARPA and surplus bill earmarks. That was House Bill 4269. And it included $75K for improvements to the landfill cap and remediation repairs. And we're in the process of giving them the information they need to create the contract for that. It's kind of a basic overview of the project. And then there's $40,000 in that House bill for the Swift River Elementary School to provide potable drinking water through the Clean Water Trust. And those funds actually go to New Salem. The state is only allowing a single municipality to receive those funds. So New Salem will get them to the school somehow, I suppose. And that's a $20K offset for us since it's 50-50. So they're in the process of requesting those funds. And then there's money coming down the pike, emergency aid for the July storm. That's also ARPA funds. And that is $7.5 million that's allocated in total for Berkshire, Franklin, Hampden, Hampshire, and Worcester counties. It's about 6 weeks away from distributing the funds, but the amount for Wendell isn't known yet. So any questions about those? I can't see you, so I'll just assume unless I hear you that there aren't questions.
Glenn,
yeah,
I just wanted to follow up. When I spoke with Senator Comerford and Elena, it sounds like, I don't know if you found any more, it sounds like there's going to be like a portal that Wendell has to apply for the funds for the storm.
Okay, I haven't heard that yet, but that makes sense that there will be some kind of online. That was what was there for the 75K. They had a website I went to, and I had to download certain information and email it to a certain person. And then he sent me more information that I need to provide by email. So I'm not sure what it will look like, but makes sense.
Right. So just keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
So Glenn, it looks like there's about $115,000 there that's of ARPA money that's allocated for these two projects, the landfill and the school. And that leaves a balance of Wendell's ARPA money of another something like that, 110,000.
No, this is, so we're also, I think you're talking about the direct, that was all about the state money, the money that's coming into the state. And that, so it's kind of like we're eligible for the money directly and we're eligible for other money through the state.
Right. Okay.
So part of this $5.29 billion that's been given to Massachusetts will be coming to us through various projects, earmarks, grants, etc. So we're going to get into now the money that's coming directly to us.
Okay.
So this kind of gives you a picture of the overall funds. What is this? This is a billion, right? 100, or is that 130 billion, $199,737,560 is oh, this state's state, but that's not correct. That's not a good title for this slide, but this is the local recovery funds. And of that, this very, very tiny portion is ours. It comes directly to us. It's $262,440. And we've already received half of this. 45, almost 46K came to us June 29th. And then 85K came in August, and the rest will be on its way at some point. I don't know that timeline for when the other $131,219 comes our way.
I think that's next year.
Okay.
But
so,
what can we use this for?
Oh, good question. Okay. Here's what we can use it for. We could use it to support a public health response, to replace public sector revenue loss for water and sewer infrastructure, to address negative economic impacts on workers, families, small businesses, industries, and the public sector, to provide premium pay for essential workers who bear the greatest health risks because of their service in critical infrastructure sectors, and broadband infrastructure. So there's, of course, a lot of kind of detail for each one of those, except for this one, I wanted to go in a little more detail about replacing public sector revenue loss. So the Treasury is pretty much assuming a revenue loss of $10 million for every group. And so since our allotment is less than $10 million, the possibility exists for all of the allotment to be designated as revenue loss without having to provide further documentation. So it's almost like a tax credit or something like that. It's just take the standard deduction and that whole amount could be considered revenue loss. Other categories would require writing up project descriptions, kind of maintaining account records, et cetera. But my understanding, and I think there is a little more work to do just to confirm all this, but everything I've read so far seems to indicate that there wouldn't be any need to provide any documentation or description for the entire amount if the entire amount was designated as public sector revenue loss. So many small towns are considering doing that.
Yeah, I would think so. It seems pretty sensible and the easy way to do it. And it would just be like any other free cash or end of the year over any account that remains usable at the end of a year. That money goes into free cash, and then it gets spent by the town and the FinCom as needed in town meetings. So,
yeah, that aligns with what I'm hearing. Yeah,
and if it does go into the general fund, the town can put it in stabilization, which is like putting it in the savings bank, and now that account doesn't end at the end of the year; it just rolls over into the next year. So, putting all that money into stabilization would seem like a pretty wise move.
Yeah, I think that's what many towns are deciding to do. So that's the end of my presentation about the ARPA funds.
Well, very good, Glenn. It looks good to me. Very complete, thorough, and enlightening.
Good, yeah. I'm glad. Any questions or?
I don't.
Glenn, this is Phil.
Hey, Phil.
I was under the impression that just for clarification, that 7.5 million was in addition to the funds that were originally designated to be coming to the municipalities.
That's so right.
When you mentioned the that sheet there, when you get the $75,000 for the landfill and the school water issue there, those were not part of the original designation for funds for Wendell. Those will come out of that 7.5 million that was added in.
Actually, that's a separate tranche. So there's the July storm is the kind of the second ARPA state earmark or state grant state bill that was passed. The 75K and 40K were for the House Bill 4269 that passed at the end of December.
I see now, actually, I'm looking at it better. It sounds like maybe the storm damage money is out of that 7.5 million. So that's separate from the monies you already talked about that we're receiving.
That's right. Yeah, the 7.5 million is just for the July storm in these counties, and it comes out of the state's direct. They get money directly from the Treasury for $5.29 billion. And that is a totally separate amount from the 262,440 that we're eligible for directly. And again, the title of this slide is incorrect. This is the direct local aid that's part of ARPA.
Boy, that's quite a windfall for the town. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's gonna be more. I mean, it's gonna take them a while to spend $5.29 billion for the state. So there will be other opportunities and things coming across the desk. I'm assuming grants we could apply for, or other kind of tranches of funds that are getting distributed where we could get earmarks and whatnot.
Sounds good.
Any other questions?
But yeah, you can hear me now or not?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
now,
we
Doug.
can.
Yeah, one of the questions I had talked with Joe Cuneo was so when I submitted the list of things that we needed, one of the things that I submitted was a fire truck, a tanker, and it's kind of like wondering if there was a way the tanker could be framed in some kind of a way to use ARPA money. And I'm not sure, but I think there's something there to think about. And we kind of hear that they're from the opinion of, like, Gus, Bob Dean and some others, is that eventually we'll be able to use all of this one way or another. But if that be true, a tanker is something that we have to think about.
Yeah. Do we have a way of kind of keeping track of all the different big projects that we're in, like a central place where we keep a list of all those?
Well, the FinCom has a list of capital projects that involve purchase. We don't have a formal list of other things. A lot of it's just in our collective heads.
Got it. Yeah.
like the roof on the highway garage, and the paving of the basketball court, which that could possibly be an ARPA thing, and a bunch of we need some flooring in the library. You know, it'd be nice if we had a collective list. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah,
I mean, equipment's easier to tell. I mean, we need a tanker and we need a police car, either next fiscal year or the one after that. I think it's the one after that. So I think it's 25 that we have to provide a car. Hopefully the prices may be down a little bit by then. We'll see.
Hopefully, yeah.
Glenn, if you're making a list presently, we want to throw in the paving at the RATS. That's not eligible for Chapter 90 or the RATS income funds.
Yep.
You want to start a list, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm not capturing this right now, but it is being recorded, so I can go back and catch it. Yeah.
The FinCom is going to recommend $5,000 be put into, well, I'll be communicating with the accountant for the best way to do it, but I think what we want to do is put $5,000 into a fund that's designated for the RATS paving. And then every year put a little, whatever we can afford into it. And in the meantime, if there's another way we can find to pave it, to pay for it, that'd be great, you know?
Sure.
Is that something we want to do before all the capping happens? Whatever needs to happen for the capping?
I would say no to that. We want to probably wait till we're done with the capping. Yeah. I have submitted a request for some help or some assistance with coming up with an estimate for that capping. So that's in the works. And also pricing on the roof for the town barn is in the works as well.
Awesome.
Great, thanks, Phil.
Phil, did you note today that that Glenn got from McCurdy saying that we could bill for the work that our DPW has done?
Was that to me?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't understand the question then. I'm sorry.
Glenn sent out today a note from this, is it Michael McCurdy, the guy who is controlling the 75,000 for the cap, who said that it's okay to build, to withdraw money from that for the work that DPW does. He just wants it to be documented so that
much like reimbursement for hurricanes or something. Sure.
Or even Chapter 90. It's exactly that. So if we could put together documentation for the roads that they already built around there and stuff, then we could get that money right away.
I will start a list.
Thank you.
And Doug, I'm not sure you caught it at the beginning of the meeting, but essentially Glenn believes, and it looks like it's true, that the entire $262,000 allotment can be called loss of revenue, and that money can probably just all be put into stabilization at this point.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's what I've heard that people said could happen. Not sure how to document it, but
we don't have to document it. Actually, they just call it's almost like a standard deduction. It's just if you have a revenue loss, if it's less than $10 million, you don't have to provide documentation.
Hey,
it's a little bit less than 10 million.
Great. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Can I ask? I think we touched on this last time. I can't remember if there was an answer. So right now, though, if we wanted to spend some of this money, do we have to do anything other, like no town meeting vote? We can just put it down the account number and spend it?
I think you will have to vote at some point on the decision to declare that as revenue loss. And I don't know if you're ready to do that tonight, or if you want to wait till next meeting just to double check with someone to make sure that all our I's are crossed and all our T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
So just the select board needs to vote, not the town?
I think the town would need to vote, but Dan might know better, but like once the money's in stabilization, I don't know how, I don't know what happens after that, after the select board votes declaring it as revenue loss.
I know to put it into stabilization, I assume there'd be a town meeting vote, but if we didn't want to put all of it in, if we wanted to spend it on other things, then I'm just curious if that's something we can just do. Because there's like an outstanding broadband bill that we had already talked about using. So I think we should make a decision soon. We'll need to make a decision soon on that if we want to use this money for that, and whatever we need to do to be able to use it, we will need to do. And I'm sure there's I imagine there's other things we might want to use it for right away rather than just putting it in stabilization. But I mean, I don't know. I keep thinking of Phil's culvert. But I'm sure there's other things too.
Well, I actually had it in mind that we could vote on the monies that are going to the culvert and to the capping of the landfill and to the Swift River water supply, the 70,000 and the 40,000. I thought we could vote on that tonight since it's pretty much already set in stone, and that would hopefully make that money available. And I don't see any reason why we couldn't vote, Lori, to pay that outstanding broadband bill and then just check and see if that's going to be enough.
But I don't, well, I'm not, maybe you can explain to me, but the 40,000 isn't even coming to us. It's going through New Salem. So is there a vote that the select board needs to make on that or not?
It wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
That's true. The other item is the computers, as per the proposal I made. My understanding from Aaron, if that didn't change today, Glenn, was that we could simply buy those and allocate the expense to that fund that the ARPA funds are in. So that wouldn't require a vote if we were doing it like that. But we don't, we don't know the exact number of that yet. It's probably 5 computers at least. And then you got other equipment we haven't investigated yet, but there's no hurry on all of it.
Well, if we don't need to vote, we don't need to vote. So they can just do that.
The broadband is different, though. That's different because that has its own esoteric nature. If the town puts money into broadband, if the money belongs to the town, not the broadband, then I think the town has to vote to put it into broadband.
Right.
Can't hurt. Anyway, I mean, that would be, less likely to cause problems that way.
Well,
so you're talking about a town meeting vote, not just a select board vote?
I think so.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that's probably true. But we do have a special coming up, right?
Yep, we do. Do we have a date for that yet?
I think we had said April without a date.
Yeah, okay. So far, yeah, that's what I know so far. Yep.
So somebody has a list of, I think, Glenn, it might be a good idea for you to hold on to a list of warrant articles for the special town meeting.
Yep.
And that would be one to bill for broadband services or repairs, whatever that was. Was that the HUT security?
Yeah,
money?
yeah, the HUT security. Yep.
HUT security. Okay.
If it's something that like a purchase has already happened, expenses have already happened, is it something that the MLP can go ahead and pay and then we can reimburse through these funds?
That would definitely be what would have to happen. And I think that is fine. I think I've heard that ARPA can be used as a reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's consistent with what I've heard.
Okay.
Did we want to narrow down the date on the special? While we're talking about it.
Well, I remember from our last conversation, was there some sort of grant that someone was looking into whether we needed to have the town meeting earlier or later?
Oh yeah, that was me when I found out. So the grant, actually the deadline probably won't be until April. And they said that they like to know, that the town has the money, but as long as we say, our plans are to put it on the warrant and have it voted on, then it's okay to apply with that understanding. And then they, depending on whether or not it's approved, will depend on whether we get awarded the grant. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So then was the preference to do it like in June or something? I can't remember what the conversation was, but I remember that it was like wanting to find out whether it had to happen earlier rather than later.
I think it was more March or April. And we were leaning towards trying to do April, but finding out whether that would work for the grant that Lori's talking about.
Okay, so April would be fine. Okay.
And it would be we could do a Wednesday evening.
Yeah. So that would probably be the 6th or the 20th of April.
I would prefer the 6th. The 20th falls on school vacation week.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, everybody okay with the 6th?
Good for me.
I think so.
And what we need to do, Glenn, is check with the moderator, Katie Nolan, and the town clerk, who is actually here at our meeting. Anna's here, I think, somewhere. Anna, is that date okay with you? You can hear me?
Yeah, that date is fine for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's okay for Katie too, she said.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Katie.
Katie, the moderator?
Yes.
Katie, the moderator. She leads any town meeting as the chair, basically.
She's secretly with Josh, sitting with Josh.
Hi, Katie. Nice to meet you.
Okay, so we're pretty much set on the 6th. We'll pencil that in and let's go from there. I don't think, it seems like we do not need to vote on the ARPA expenditures at this point. Those are the ones that's already taken care of. So we're down to schedule for town newsletter. That was yours, Glenn?
Yeah. Let's see, I had sent out a draft schedule to you all, and it sounded like it looked like it was going to work out okay. So should we just go with that? Let me see if I can pull that up. Have that ready. Could we skip that item for the time being and come back to it?
Sure.
I gotta pull that up.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Committee for Wood Bank Planning. Yeah, I think we approved the idea of the wood bank in general, and so did the Concom. Without any specifics, they are still looking at the Davis Road site. They're bringing in some experts to see if that will work, that site. But in looking at it, Dan Leahy, among other things, looked at other wood banks in local towns, and it's not simple because number one, you have volunteers working on these piles of wood, and there's a liability question. There's a question of will this wood be sold or will it be given away? If it's given away, how is it going to be allocated? And it's just not a simple logistical setup. So in order to get the thing going, it would seem that a committee or a small working group would be a good idea. I know that Cliff has volunteered to be on it, and that will be great. But we probably should have a select board person on it, maybe, but maybe not. And folks should just think of other possible members of this working group that can scope out what other towns are doing and put together an outline of what this would look like logistically, organizationally.
I was also thinking, somebody had told me about a new forester that had moved into or just purchased land in Wendell. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about reaching out to them if they had an interest in getting involved in the community and being part of something like that. So I could try reaching out and see if it's something he's interested in.
Good. Sounds like it'd be a good person to have on.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
And you know, this can, I think we can pitch this as just a short-term working group. This doesn't have to be in existence for a long time. Once it gets set up, the committee can take over. And I will reach out to a few people I think may be interested in making. Glenn, we can put that on the agenda for next week, 2 weeks from now. Maybe we can form a working group or a committee by then.
Great.
And what, isn't there like a nonprofit that helps people do this also? Is it, I don't know if it's possible to, I think Cliff has already maybe had some conversations with them. If they could be maybe a part of some of the discussions, that might be really helpful. I can't remember their name or anything.
Well, Lori, can you get in touch with Cliff and see about that?
Sure.
Thanks. And I don't see any select board members volunteering to actually be on this working group at the moment. That's okay. We don't need to do that. I'm not going to twist any arms at the moment.
I pulled up the newsletter's draft schedule if you want to go back to that.
Yep.
So essentially we're looking at doing it quarterly. potentially having the newsletter published on the 1st of the month, April, July, October, January, and with a deadline of the 15th of the month preceding. The only kind of hesitation I have about that schedule is the trying to get it published right after the winter holiday, but you know, if it happens early in January, it's probably okay. It doesn't have to be right away, but.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
All right.
Yep.
Plan on that. So
And
The
then,
deadline, I'm sorry, Glenn, the deadline will be March 15th for the April newsletter.
that's right.
Okay, thanks.
So
And we
Oh.
have, go ahead, Lori.
We were probably going to say the same thing. There's somebody who has volunteered to put it together, Corwin Erickson. But if that's, I don't know if they would care if you wanted to do it, Glenn. So that's another thing you can
If
just.
they want to do it, believe me, I'm not going to get in the way. But I'll work with them. We'll get it done together.
Okay.
that sounds good.
It's nice that they volunteered.
Okay.
Have they done it in the past? Just curious. Okay.
Yeah, Nancy needed help for a while, and Corey stepped up. I don't know the whole process of how much he did and how much she did.
Okay.
But so yeah, you might have to check with him or Nancy.
Great.
Okie doke. Town hall painting. We have one good bid in. I know there's a second one coming. I'm actually meeting with a painter tomorrow morning at the town hall who wants to submit a bid. So that would be 3. And that's really all we need, I think, for this, but never hurts to have more. So I'm going to actually look for a couple more. But
And did you see who I sent requests to? Okay.
yeah,
I don't know if anything came in. But
not yet. No.
yeah.
So that's good. That's moving along.
It's just refresh my memory. We will be creating a fund for the amount of the bid that we're going to accept, and that will be a transfer from the rehab loan money into a specific fund, similar to the windows that we're doing.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
If we confirm that ARPA money can be used for any of this stuff, does it make sense to just plan to use ARPA money? Or I don't know. I mean, it's as it is, it seems like we don't require a town meeting vote to use that, but we would require a town meeting vote for the rehab. I mean, either way, I don't think it matters that much. They're both just pots of money that we can probably use however we want in the end. I haven't checked. I've checked with Nan on the energy committee, and she seemed to think it was fine. But we were going to check with the whole committee, which has not happened yet, in terms of using the rehab funds. But
I certainly love the idea of preserving any funds that we have for posterity or eventualities later. Especially like the idea of being able to use ARPA money if there's question about it later, and we know we have the money to back it up if we have to. So that as far as the financial aspect of that, I would prefer to use ARPA for anything we think will work.
Okay, so you would say to use it before the rehab money.
Yeah, because we still have the rehab when ARPA's gone.
Okay.
That way. There's also money I would take the same approach. There's significant amount of money, and we're planning to put a little more into an account. It's not a fund, it's an account, I believe, that's called town building repairs, which could be used for anything. Basically, you know, we could do the repair to the basketball court and the fence with that, but if we can use ARPA money instead, that amount of money stays in the account, you know, so.
Right.
And especially, like I say, especially like it if we know we could cover it if there was an issue came along that said, hey, oh, whoops, you can't use that, you know, we would be good for it.
Okay, good. I see we actually have Phil down for 7:30 and we've gone past that. So with all due respect to the highway, I think, Phil, you wanted to talk about the culvert mainly?
Well, I did, and I see that Doug's on for 7:45. I'm not sure if we're on the same topic. I had talked to Doug over the weekend about things going on with that process for the culvert. And he actually, maybe, Doug, I'm asking you, are you on for the same item or is that something different?
I think I'm on for the same item. I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really need anything from the select board, but I think it'd be helpful just to sort of recap all the emails that I was zipping around over the weekend, trying to, essentially I was trying to push a little bit to get the RFP in place last Thursday. And that would be the goal of that was to get an actual hard number on the cost for doing that culvert replacement. I ran into a couple of problems with DOT, and they have upgraded their systems to the point where they're almost impossible to use. So we say it that way. But it's all computerized now. And I've finally made contact today with an actual person who is going to, I've got to set up an account in one computer program, which then will allow me to make an application for a project in another computer, I'll call it. So it's working through. That's separate, but the issue that I think that would be good for the board to hear is that the financing for this project is still somewhat unknown. We have one estimate rather from the engineer that came in 3 years ago for $312,000. And I currently have about 390 in Chapter 90 monies available. I mean, I'm real reluctant to spend all of our Chapter 90 money, but if that was enough to be sure we'd do the project, then we'd just let it ride and put the application in and talk about other funding that may come or may not come later. The issue is that I don't think DOT is going to allow us to go forward with the project advertisement even, unless we have either an upgraded estimate or we put more funds into the project application. So what I was pushing or trying to accomplish last weekend was to get enough money on the table so that the DOT would have some comfort level with letting us go forward with the project, even though it's a 3-year-old estimate. But things have been held up. I haven't even got the project application in yet because of this new computer program. I'm actually going to have a Zoom meeting tomorrow morning with DOT and see if we can get that underway. At this point, I guess I'll stick with my original thought is that I would like to be able to put down on the town side, maybe $100,000 towards this project and list $300,000 from Chapter 90 only as a placeholder until we get an actual cost. And also until we find out what we're getting for reimbursement on the storm damage. So there's a lot of things floating still on this. I have a sense the project going to come in considerably higher than the 312. That's the word I'm getting is projects are coming in maybe 30% higher than originally proposed from 2 or 3 years ago. So we could be spending $400,000 plus on this project. I think it's great that we have options. I think the fact that we're getting money from the state is just it was unplanned for. So if we get some of the storm damage money, that's great. We also have FY 23 Chapter 90 money around the corner. That's another $200,000 goes into our Chapter 90 fund. So I don't actually need anything from the select board. If you feel like you want to vote on that or not, that's up to you. But I would like, when I fill out the paperwork for DOT with how we plan to fund the bridge presently in the absence of a new estimate, I would like to put in that we're putting $4,000 down on the line. That would be 3 from Chapter 90 and 100 from the town side. Question?
How's that sound, Doug?
So there is, from my end of it, looking at it, and Phil and I, like I say, we did talk about this. There's $65,000 in free cash that was a turn back from the highway department from last year, partly because there always is a little bit anyway, and partly because they deferred some of the paving and subcontracting they were going to do last year. As you remember, when we thought we could be really up against it this year. So that money is there. So there's 65,000 right there. So between that and having a good amount of stabilization, we hope when we put the various sources in there, it would seem that we could commit to 1,000. If it turns out that there's so much. It's sort of like people are playing the float and we're the holder of the float. And we don't know. We're not playing somebody else's float; they're playing us. So we have 126,000 that we put into the storm damage at the town meeting last year, and we're hoping we're going to get that back, but we don't know if we'll get it all back or more of it, or if they'll cover more. We just don't know. So, hoping that we get a reasonable reimbursement from that, and then we have the 65,000 that we should be okay to use the reserves for that. So I'm in favor of committing to 100,000.
Okay, looks like you have your marching orders, Phil.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I would add also that for the storm damage estimate, that we did include $350,000 specifically for this culvert replacement because it was impacted by the storm. So that could come in. If they come in and fund us for what we asked for, that would be a miracle, but we would take it.
Yeah.
But again, and the other side of this conversation, we haven't really talked about, there's no immediate crisis. I mean, I'm concerned if something happens, a major storm, and we lose that culvert, it would be much more expensive to replace if it got washed away, say. So, yeah. And we're concerned. It's been deteriorating steadily, and it seems stable now. But if you went and looked over at that head wall, I don't even want to get 10 feet within 10 feet of it. It looks that precarious to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we want to keep that in mind. We want to try and move forward on it this year. But there's no immediate crisis.
All right.
Good.
I'm sorry, Phil, can I ask how bad would it have to be before we could declare it an emergency and, avoid some of the red tape? How bad does it have to be?
Well, it's partly a decision that the Conservation Commission makes, that if we present to them, we have to do a culvert replacement, such as we did on Jennison Road last year. That was overflowing. It was in imminent danger of washing away. That same similar situation, it would have been tremendously more extensive to replace it if it washed away. So we were able to just get a price from a local contractor to go in and do it, as opposed to getting engineering, getting bidding. It would have tripled the cost of that. So I don't know the answer to that. If I could take the Concom down there and show them that head wall and explain that, we still would have to come up with the money to do it. And we've already got an estimate. So I don't know if that would really change anything. It might allow us to just, no, I guess it wouldn't really change. We still have to get bids or something for that size of project. And we've already paid for the engineering out of Chapter 90 money.
Wow.
So I don't know what the benefit would be on that one.
Okay. And if there was, I mean, we do have enough money to do it if we had to do it, especially we'd be able to count on some reimbursement, at least from Chapter 90, if nothing else, but we have enough money to do it if it was a way we could save money by declaring it. But if you don't think so, then.
Well, the way you save money on the smaller projects is you avoid the whole bidding process, engineering, because you have to get a design for some of these things. And that, the design, we spent $130,000 on the design for the culvert replacement. We spent, $20,000 and $30,000 for simple culvert replacements for just the design. And frequently, for instance, that one down in Jennison Road, we did the repair for less than it would have cost to design it, I believe.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So
Okay.
Because we already have the design. What you're
Yeah,
saying.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, Phil, thank you for doing that.
I have a
Sure.
quick question for Phil.
Yeah.
Sure.
What was the total you applied for the storm damage again?
That was $600,000.
Mhm.
We put in the fee for the town. I think I'm not looking at the numbers. I think it was 140 of that was for the town work that was already done on Farley Road. And a couple of other areas. Woman Hollow Road got hit, and another road off Farley. I can never remember the name of it. But 350 of it was for the specifically for that culvert
Okay.
at the Woman Hollow. Yep.
And are the guardrails for Farley on that? In that?
They, actually they did not. We paid for that out of Chapter 90 money. We could insert that. We should, in fact, when we get around to the process that Glenn was describing, where we have to put an application, and we should definitely put that figure in there because those are all done now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was, I want to say it's around $30,000 for that, the guardrails.
Okay, good.
Could I ask very quickly, does someone tell me what the limit, is it $5,000 project is the limit on needing bids? I mean, can you do a
10,000.
10, okay. So we could hypothetically do the basketball court easily without bids. I mean, we could local bids and
Yep.
wouldn't have to, okay, great.
I think you still are required to make an attempt to get prices. I mean, I don't think you wouldn't order it. I mean, used to be the chair of the selectmen owned a dump truck in the town, and that's how all the work got done. I think we've gone beyond that.
No, I'm sure we would look for prices on it, but we don't have to worry about it being.
Yeah.
I have a wheelbarrow and a rake and a shovel.
That's true.
You're hired.
There seems to be general agreement that restoring the court is essential, because otherwise it will disappear.
Good.
Whether it be replaced or repaired is a different question, but something has to happen to it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Phil.
Sure thing.
Are we done? Am I done?
I think we're done with the highway.
All right. Anything else you need me for?
Not that I know of. It looks like we're pretty clear sailing from now on, I hope.
Okay.
Nothing really financial.
Mahar is $78,000.
78.
78. The spot. Holding my breath on Swift River. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. All right. Well, we have this item, coordinator's role with town clerk. And I think what this boils down to is that because of Glenn's schedule and other factors, including the fact that he's got a lot on his plate, he may not be able to fulfill the duties of town clerk assistant. But I think after talking with Anna, there are things that he can do to help the town clerk as boots on the ground at the town office building, for one thing, without being the formal assistant, which probably should be another individual. Did I summarize that okay, Anna?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, and does that sound more or less okay to you, Glenn?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Good. Well, you two can have a conversation about exactly what kind of jobs those can be at some point. I don't think we need to do that in the meeting, but sometime at your convenience. I think there's a lot that Glenn can do because he's at the office in terms of receiving documents, putting them in the right place, and et cetera.
And is the hours would be similar, or it wouldn't matter? Any hours that weren't spent on clerk duties would be coordinator duties, just shift over to coordinator.
Right. To coordinator or another job that we may think of for Glenn as time goes on. But the assistant town clerk, I think, requires really specific duties and specific times of being in the town clerk office. And that was the issue there.
I know Carolyn was expressing a desire for some assistance with some of the HR pieces of her job. I don't know if that's something that can be discussed at some point to see if
Sure.
Glenn might be able to help her out with that.
Yep, I think we can talk to Carolyn about that. I can start that conversation with Carolyn.
It may be useful for me to get through a little bit more of my kind of like onboarding and learning the job kind of period to see what capacity there is and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy to help however I can.
Yeah, good.
Thanks, Glenn.
Glenn, I'm curious, we've had this conversation and gone back and forth. How would you, this is very minor, but would you ever feel comfortable taking minutes for select board meetings?
I talked to Nancy about that and she really discouraged me because of having to juggle the multiple hats and having to track information in different ways. So
no, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wanted to make sure we checked in.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have a separate person doing that. And Anna, thank you for doing it, by the way. And are you okay filling in until maybe we find a more permanent person?
I will be delighted the day you find a permanent person.
Okay, right. Well, we'll start working on that then.
I did reach out to somebody this week, but got turned down.
Okay.
Yeah, I reached out to someone and got turned down also.
So Dan, if I may throw in a side issue here,
Sure.
I've talked a little bit about with Doug, and this has to do with human resources, personnel, and that kind of thing. Who's filling what positions? The whole business of being on the road commission, it's vastly more involved than I ever imagined. I mean, beyond, it's 15, it's 20 hours like weekly. It's just, there's just never an end to the paperwork, to the applications, the conversations, the projects. So I'm not sure how to address it. I know that I took on a lot last year with the free store and now with the police station project, but those are winding down. But still, there is this year we've got a bridge project on Kentfield Road. We have this culvert project. We have road projects still coming up. So there's just a lot going on. There's rats, everything that happens there, the capping. So I guess I'm just throwing my hat in the ring a little bit that I'm feeling overworked. And I would, I'd like to see if we could have a conversation about how that might be addressed. And it just, I'm bringing it up only because this conversation is going on about, resources and who's filling what roles and that kind of thing. But
yeah.
For future conversation.
It's good for bringing it up, Phil. It's good that you bring it up now. Too bad we let Doug go because this is actually his department. It's sounding like we need another employee really to do some of this administrative work across the departments, not just highway.
Yeah.
But
I'm not opposed to doing the work. I just want to structure it so that there's some recognition of what's going on, and maybe it is a different position that I'm talking about for me, even.
Or maybe
Doug and I,
a pay raise.
Sure. But
Yeah,
the other issue is
pay
for me.
Yeah,
$600 a year.
Right.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say 15 to 20 hours a week.
I believe you.
It's pretty constant. And Doug and I have talked about this. I'm just throwing it, like I say, I just throw it in the ring since the conversation started. But
yeah, good.
When it comes up, I'd like to be part of it.
and Phil, so I assume each member of the road commission gets that stipend. And do you feel that the other members do equal amounts, or are you doing all of it?
I'm doing 99% of it. I mean, Joy does paperwork. She does the administration. She keeps the records. She does a lot. The other guys are, it's a lot of computer work. It's a lot of being on the phone. It's a lot of paperwork, working with numbers, administration kind of things, grants. So I don't, I try and shift things off for them to do also. And they do pick up when asked, but it's more a case of, I do most of it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm also wondering if it's in some ways, something that we have to look at a little bit more globally in terms of a little survey of what positions are people in, what hours are they actually spending doing the job, and what are they getting, how are they being compensated for it? And just to see.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think also sustainability comes to mind for me. And when Doug and I talked about this, because I'm looking at probably, a couple more years, and I'll be looking to play more golf probably. But so
I'm getting really worried about what it's going to be like in a couple of years.
What's going to happen? Oh, well, for me, I'll have a birthday. That's all.
I know, but there's a lot of people who are.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Succession planning is a thing, right? Going back to that question about polling people about how many hours they're doing and stuff, I feel like one of the things that makes it kind of hard to even really advertise for the select board clerk thing is that it's a flat stipend, but the number of hours may vary month to month. I mean, I feel like for that kind of work, people are used to more like an hourly wage or a, but it's like you could have a meeting that's an hour long, you could have 2 hours, you could have you could have 2 meetings in a month, or you could have 3 or 4, So
it's a good point.
Might be worth looking at that structure.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, well, that's a lot of food for thought. I don't think we're going to decide anything on that tonight, but it's definitely on the agenda. Any further thoughts on that question? Additional clerk, additional administrative.
I'm just curious if Anna has reached out to anyone who might be interested to fulfill the assistant.
I've reached out to 2 people and had a tentative, I will come and talk to you from one of them.
Good.
It's promising. Ask them if they want the select board clerk job too.
I've also been asking if they want to serve on planning board, and I keep getting turned down for that one. I've asked 3
I've been
people and they
asking.
all said no, not interested, but maybe other committees they would be, but somehow planning board is too big for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's the next item on the agenda.
Yes, it
to
is.
clarify, highway project issue was also the culvert, so all of that's been covered.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, planning board recruitment. It's on the agenda. I think just as a reminder to all of us that we need to work on that. I've tried several people. Oh, nice. Somebody's got a clock.
Bill, I just muted you.
Yeah, I've tried several people and gotten the same response. The planning board's too complicated. So there's definitely that feeling out there, but we need to find somebody that likes those kind of complications.
And that one is, there's a stipend also. I'm not sure if more money would make a difference for that kind of thing or not, but it could be part of, is there a stipend for it actually?
I think there is. Glenn has the budget right there, I think.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. It's not jumping out at me, but I'm also not that practiced with looking for things here yet. Oh, planning board salaries and wages. Yeah, there's $1,224 in there, I guess, for everybody.
Probably for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so while we're on that subject, do we want to advertise the select board clerk as being hourly as opposed to having a stipend for that? Start by
I think we'll have to check with Carolyn before we do that. So I
Right.
can do that. I can
Okay.
check.
All right, thanks.
The other thing I thought I'd keep having is we have like a health agent and a conservation agent. Is there any precedent for having some kind of a planning agent? So it's one person who's paid, you know, to sort of, I don't know, be a little bit more of a concrete entity that can lead things. Just
Definitely a possibility. Yeah. Because you have the same sort of situation where it's almost a semi-professional job.
right.
And if you have a pro in there, the pro can cut through a lot of the bureaucratic garbage that will slow other people down.
Mm-hmm.
Lori,
So,
which agents did you say? The health agent and
Conservation.
conservation? I just wonder if they feel like very different things. I wonder.
Right. They're all, but they all have to do with dealing with state regulations, I think, right? And,
yeah.
you know, that you have to, it's not just doing whatever you feel like. It's, you have to worry about rules and.
Yeah. There's a lot to know. Yeah. Well,
And this also brings me back. Glenn had actually recommended the possibility of bringing in a consultant to help look through their personnel policy. And I wonder if that consultant could also help us with looking at how we've structured committees, boards, agents, personnel, and if there's a way that towns are finding a way to make it a little more doable. I don't know, but I would consider re-looking at that as a possibility to help us through the process, because I feel like we have so many balls in the air that are starting to pop up.
Well, that sounds like a good job for the Collins Center. Maybe we should suggest that to them as a possibility, and maybe they can come up with a grant to fund it, like they have been doing again and again for us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's right up their alley, because it's another situation where once you create a template, it applies to all the other towns.
Right.
So it sounds like an opportunity for them, really. Do you want to run that by our friend?
Michael?
Yeah.
Sure.
Great. Yeah, I think that might be something worth doing.
Glenn, would you want to talk with Michael with me?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Okay, very good. I think that's the end of the written agenda.
I've got my list of updates there for you.
I see that. Anything in particular you wanted to point out there, Glenn? I think we've covered a lot of this, except maybe not Orange, but I think we know about Orange.
Yeah, it's just that I received their report, and they file it every year. It includes information about capital improvements, training and staffing, and then some budget information about how much each town, how many responses for each town, 20 in each fiscal year, and assessments and whatnot. So
okay,
you're
maybe
available if anyone's curious.
Yeah, if you could just leave that on the table.
Great.
And we can look at it, whoever wants to look at it when we come in.
I think we did want to talk about the agenda building process a little bit. They had shared a draft with people, and I think there were some questions about the kind of, I had proposed that at the end that I send a the final draft to you, Dan, for a final approval. I know everybody's very cooperative on this select board, but I think having processes in place for future times when it possibly isn't so cooperative is really useful. And sometimes there can be conflict between select board members about what is or isn't on the agenda, and it helps to have a kind of a final person. So that's kind of why I had that included in there.
That sounds okay to me if it's okay with the rest of the board.
Sure.
Because
I think I just, like, I wasn't sure. The only part that I got sort of a little confused on was, how do I know what else anybody else is submitting? You know, are we submitting same things or similar things?
Yeah.
That's where I felt like a little shooting in the dark, but
right, because I'm kind of compiling people's lists and then sending them out the Friday before the meeting, so everyone can see what everyone has submitted so far. But this time I had the folks in the BCC field, so if people had feedback, it wasn't easy to reply all and just say, oh, please add this or take this off. So in the future, I won't do that, and people can respond by email to everybody and give feedback. And then if you can do that by, you know, Monday morning, then I can put together a draft of the kind of formatted agenda to share with Dan for final approval.
Sounds good.
And Gillian, when I suggest things to add on to the agenda, I think I always copy the rest of the board so that, you know, one hand knows what the other hand is doing. I think as a general practice, I try to do that.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I have a couple of announcements just about that aren't on the agenda, but just that I saw Chief Minkler today, and he's going to be out next week. Sergeant Gould will be filling in for him. And also in the spot for you all to sign is the, I started the paperwork for becoming a notary public. You'd asked me to do that when I signed on. So I need 3 people to kind of attest to my worthiness for that. And then I'll need to get an attorney who can sign as well. I don't know if we know any attorneys who come into the town offices on a regular basis, but where I can find someone, and then I have to get a notary public to sign off as well. So
I can probably corral an attorney to come in and sign.
Yeah, that'd be great. And next week will be the President's Day holiday on Monday. So I'll probably be in on Tuesday, but the regular open office hours will just be Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. next week.
Okay.
So Glenn, do you have a set schedule for your full hours in the office, not just the public hours?
I don't. I'm have been leaving it flexible, but primarily I've been coming in Monday through Wednesday and then doing with whatever hours are left over on Thursday and Friday, doing stuff from home, email, keeping up with email and things like that. So trying to be able to check email at least once on Thursday and once on Friday.
Okay. And I think it definitely is helpful for not the public necessarily, but all the other town workers who might rely on you for various things to have some set hours that are pretty consistent. So do you feel that, and then to somehow communicate it to them as well? Like for things like posting meetings, which I don't know if your best practice for posting meetings was just about select board or other things, but you know, that was something that Nancy always would do, but people could email her agendas to post. So it's good to know when you're going to be there, if that's something that you still feel you would want to be doing.
I mean, I'm happy to do it when I'm here, and I would be happy to have, I mean, if I'm gonna be here anyway, it's just when we had originally talked, we were talking about just the Mondays and Wednesdays. I mean, it's just that I might have appointments or things out of the office at some point, but right now, I mean, yeah, I could just be here on Monday through Wednesday for the most part. And then I can make a practice of like having an away message on my email or on my voicemail so people are kind of updated. But I think that there are sometimes people are wanting to post things like on a Thursday or Friday, and it's just tougher for me being in Greenfield.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
that's why I think it's important that people know if you're there or not. That's why having set hours would be helpful.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, I think open meeting law allows Wendell, I mean, I don't know if you've had this discussion before, but allows towns to have meetings posted online and not in hard copy. And it's saying no, you have to have one physical.
Well, we do unless we change our whole system.
Yeah,
and
I
we need to vote on
with the Attorney General's office when I saw the agenda today. And until we submit in writing to the Attorney General's office that we are going to be posting digital meetings as our primary open meeting law posting, we cannot do that legally. It's not
so
hard.
the select board could vote and say
somebody has to write to the Attorney General to say that Wendell is changing over to an online posting for public notices. And then we'll be added to the list of people of towns who are posting, and then they will need our town email address to make sure we are doing that.
Yeah, so the select board, I guess, could vote to do that. And then if I wasn't in the office, people could email me the announcements and I could post it online for them.
And last time we did made a change, we had a town meeting vote, I thought, to change the posting site. Right. Would we need that for this too? Do you know, Anna?
A municipality may adopt a website as the official notice posting method for public bodies within the municipality and must notify the Attorney General's office. So I'm guessing from that, yes, the town would have to vote on it.
Right. I do think the town has voted every time we've needed to change the posting places. And I think that also, if you do change to online posting, you're still required to have one physical posting place, I believe.
It's not saying that right now.
No.
In Greenfield,
yeah,
you had to submit your agenda to the town clerk, and they kept a copy of it, but they didn't post it, and they didn't put it out anywhere. It was just on their record, in their records.
And online, yeah.
Right, and on the website.
Well, how does the board feel about that? Do we want to shift to online posting?
I'm concerned about it being only online. I hear from a fair number of residents, you hear that they like the hard copy posted.
Yeah.
There are people who don't have internet or very limited internet.
You certainly could, continue to have the hard copy, but it could mean that, if someone can get their meeting posted, 49 hours before the 48-hour deadline, that it goes up in hard copy the next morning or something. And it just kind of reduces that, like, make or break, got to get it onto the bulletin board or the meeting's not going to be able to happen.
Yeah, I feel okay about that. Like, it's if we say that the official posting site is online, but every attempt is still made to post the hard copy at the town offices.
Yeah.
As a secondary posting site. Sort of our best practices of making it accessible. Is it something that we could address at the special town meeting?
Yeah, it is. So that should go on the list, Glenn, for the special.
Okay.
And Katie has her hand up.
Hey, Katie.
Like, for instance, the garden. We just post on our own. But how would
we can't really hear you very well, Katie.
Want to post online?
We can't hear you, Katie. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, I thought I posted. Jeez.
You're on. No, now you're muted. But we could hear you, but very faintly. If you can get closer to the microphone.
All right. community garden committee, since for smaller committees,
It's still too quiet. Is
I
the
think you need to
microphone
move to the
covered up or
center.
something, or crawl as close as you can to
okay,
that
for small committees, for instance, like the community garden committee, we just post by ourselves with paper, and we'd either have to learn how to post online, or I don't know, I guess you would have to train people from the smaller committees that meet less often, for instance, about posting online. Like,
Yeah.
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 But it sounds like Glenn might feel he could take emails of agendas and post depending on the timing of it. Is that right,
yeah,
Glenn?
and the website committee is also available
Right,
for
the
people who
website
don't
committee.
have that ability to post themselves. So if someone can get on email and send an email, then I or the website committee can post it to the website. Or even if someone wants to, take a picture with their phone and text it to me, I'm happy to do that too.
Okay. Well, we'll put that issue on the warrant for the special town meeting and see what townspeople have to say about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a sort of a little bit of a slippery slope, because we really don't want to disenfranchise people or cut anybody out of the communication loop.
Yeah, and you have to look at both angles. I mean, there are people who are cut out of it because they're not going to be coming by to look at the bulletin board, but it's easy for them to look at the website. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I think pretty much we've been posting all the meetings to the website, or we're getting in gear. So that's pretty much happening now. And
But
we don't,
not all committees are doing that.
not all committees, no.
Yeah.
So the best practices for posting meetings to website is this conversation too, so Glenn will now do the select board meetings. So Lori doesn't have that responsibility. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. And the website committee suggests that the best practices for folks to either put it on themselves or send an email to the website committee, and then it goes both into a calendar item and as a article on the page for that particular committee. Yeah, and then I think that further best practice would be to go in later. I don't know if everyone will be able to do this, but I'll be doing this for the select board. Go into the meeting after it takes place and put a link to the minutes and a link to the recording so people can see what happened at that meeting. So I think there's going to be gradations of what people are able to do, but it sounds like if at minimum we can get every committee on the website to both have a calendar item and an article for their particular page with the meeting information, that would be great.
Yes.
That would be great. And thanks for doing all that, Glenn. It's a lot of organization.
Yeah, sure. And the website committee too, they're great. People send an email to them, they respond really quickly. So, but, and they also were, the website committee was also talking about getting some people designated as helpers, so that they wouldn't necessarily have to handle all the meetings that are coming in, but there could be a large group of people who agree to just kind of help to post things, people who are familiar with using the content management system that operates behind the scenes of the website.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
I did attend the website committee meeting, and it was interesting to just hear what they're working on. And I think there's some good energy moving it forward.
Great.
Hannah,
Okay.
do you still have your hand up for another question?
Yes, I do. I just want to be sure that as the website committee and Glenn are working through these projects, both groups are being attentive to the fact that if a meeting is not posted in time, the chain of information distribution needs to be carefully monitored, and my concern would just be too many people relying on other people and not, it just, when you have more people doing a job that has traditionally been held by one person, there's more room for things to not take place, is my concern.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's great about the website committee is when you send them an email, it creates a ticket. And so they are able to track like who is doing it and when they complete it. So it might be that there's a special ticketing system that I'm involved in as well for posting the agendas, because that could be a way of tracking, like you're saying. Yeah, I mean, and the other thing that can happen is what happened tonight is too many people are posting the meeting, you know, at the same time. So I can work with the website committee to come up with a system for that.
The other thing I just want to make sure that I'm doing correctly. So as we've been having a couple of Code Red meetings, we're listing them as select board meetings as well, because if both Lori and I are there. And I was working on posting them, but I think I should send them to Glenn or to the website committee to post, or both. I'll CC. Is that how I should be doing it?
Yeah, I think at this point, you should probably do either me or the website committee, because if it comes to, it's that issue that Anna was talking about. It's like they're going to have a ticket, but I'm not involved in their ticketing system. So, but I think that I can be your, for the select board, I should be the point of contact for these, I think.
Okay.
And I can always, if I, for some reason, can't get to it or whatever, I can forward it to them to handle.
Okay.
Okay, any further items, folks? I think we're at the end of the written agenda. Glenn, thank you for putting together a great meeting. It's you're really getting the knack of organizing this, and I think it's showing. Thanks for that.
My pleasure.
Gillian, you had something else?
Just in the old business category, pretty much.
Go ahead.
Glenn, were you able to get that MOU out to Hilltown Network? I wasn't sure.
My mind is a blank.
That was that Chris, Chris, who
I have it written down, but I don't think that I honestly don't think that I did.
Okay, so I'll follow up an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And the assessors had reached out to us before about the possibility of having a VADAR presentation of the software for the treasurer's office. Do you remember that? I was thinking we should follow back up with them.
The treasurer or tax collector?
Sorry, tax collector. I said the wrong thing. So it was that issue with the software that's currently being used doesn't talk to what the assessors are using, and they have to manually process it. And RRG said that they won't do that again. So we have to figure out a new software. So the assessors have asked if we want a presentation of the VADAR system.
I'm not sure that we necessarily need to be involved in that. Wouldn't that be just something that the treasurer and, the tax collector and the assessors could discuss before we need to get involved?
Do you want me to follow back up with them and see if they feel like they can handle it on their own, or if they want?
Well, I guess I would check with Penny first and find out what she's thinking about it. I imagine this has been run by her and she's had some thoughts about it. So I think probably a good idea to check in with her and see what she suggests, first of all.
All right, I was just trying to check in. I think it's also a money issue. It will eventually be a money issue in terms of the cost. Maybe that's where the question was talking to us about that as well. But I can reach out and sort of see where things are at.
Yeah, why don't you do that, and maybe you could get a price if they have a number of what the software would cost. It'd be good to be able to throw that into the discussion, I guess.
Okay. And just an update, we're just about done cataloging the IT for the Collins Center around, and Michael Warner has been very helpful. And we'll be getting that information hopefully off to them this week, and then we'll sort of see next steps with the IT networking group.
Okay.
Great.
And also just to put on our calendar at some point, and maybe we can discuss this at the next meeting, is to have that follow-up meeting with the police around the, with the public around the police arrangement with Leverett. We were going to have another discussion group.
Do you have a feeling about the timing on that?
Of when we should do it?
Yeah, of when, yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure, since we said that we were going to, that we did it, that we didn't lose track of it.
Okay.
What is the agenda item?
We had, there were some concerns about police patrols in Wendell by some residents. And we had a conversation, a public forum. And so this would be another public forum as a follow-up discussion around police patrols and the agreement with the town of Leverett for policing, since now we have a more formal agreement in place.
Great. So do you want that on the agenda for next time? And Anna has her hand up.
I don't think we need it on the agenda for next time. We need to just remember it and think of a time when that might be appropriate to have that meeting, but we don't need to put it on the fast track at the moment.
Okay.
And Anna, you had your hand up?
Yes, the police planning committee members would like to know if the agreement has been signed and if the committee can officially disband.
The agreement has been officially signed by both towns.
All right, I will just send out an email to everyone on that committee, thanking them for their time and letting them know that we're officially disbanding as a committee.
And are you going to issue an invitation to join the new committee?
The safety advice,
Public safety.
Public safety committee. Sure, I'll put that on there.
Okay, good. Thank you, Anna.
And the planning board and
Yes, yeah. Tell them the planning board first, actually.
And the assessors and the school committee.
right.
Yeah.
That makes me think, I don't need to say this, but I'm guessing that other committee, the public safety committee, everybody's been appointed. So as a select board member, should I be the one to start things going? Schedule the first meeting?
Nobody's been sworn in yet. So if they've been appointed, they haven't brought their slips to me to get sworn in on a Saturday.
Right, okay. So I'll wait for that and then I can schedule a meeting.
I mean, the way it was done in the past was the slips were mailed out to the individuals and it was their responsibility to bring them in to get signed. And I think that practice is what we should do, at least for the time being, because that's what people know to do.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I put the appointment slips in your box, Anna. Okay, mail them to the individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can leave ours out tomorrow.
I had to. I'm sorry, I lost volume on you all for a second.
And yeah, while we're on that subject, when do you want to sign the warrants, Gillian and Lori?
I'll have to do it before 7:30.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be in the morning too, maybe 9.
Okay, I'll be in around 10 then.
All right.
And Lori, while I have you here, the Code Red meeting, and Anna too, the Code Red meeting scheduling, and Glenn, is really tricky for this coming week. It's like I can't get a good group of people in terms of their responses to meet next week. So if it feels okay, I'm going to put it off till after the following week.
Okay. If you ever want to just meet for any reason with just a small, just the 2 of us, or let me know.
Can we do that? Can we do that?
Well,
we're not making any decisions. We're just working on trying to figure out the system. So I don't know if that's okay to still meet to do that.
I mean, we could post it and do it.
Yeah, if it's a select board meeting, you can post and talk about anything you want.
Yeah, I would advise posting it, Gillian, even though you're not making decisions.
Yeah, and that's the practice we've been doing. So
yeah, it's just safer.
But I don't know if we need to, Gillian. Just it's up to you, whatever you think.
Okay. What I'd like to do is try to get Jessica, the trainer person, to come to our next meeting to be able to answer these questions. So, okay. I think that's it.
Anything further?
Nope.
And I should just let you know that I am going to be out of town as of next Wednesday to the following Wednesday. I'm hoping to be back in some place to be able to participate in the meeting. And I'll be available by phone and by email. But...
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Anna. Have a good night, everybody. I think we can move to adjourn at 8:35.
Second.
Yeah.
All in
Third.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.